So, as I mentioned, the Grantee Perception Report is now, as are all of CEP's tools, presented through an online system, a secure online system that gives you an opportunity to really engage with the data itself. I'm going to play a little dynamic clip here now of what the system looks like. You can see as we click from section to section, you can look at past results on or off. You can control the kinds of comparisons of comparative data that you'd like to see in the tool itself. And of course, you can see segmentations of the data that you would define as a user, perhaps program area or grant size or geography or whatever the kinds of ways are that you'd like to slice and dice your own data. Now, of course, in addition to the online reporting system, you have a printable report and a narrative report that gives you some suggestions from CEP, but we really think this online report has added something to users' ability to really engage with this data. So what does it take to participate in the Grantee Perception Report? To keep costs down, we do these surveys in 3 rounds a year, launching in February, May, and September. The timeline is about 4 months from start to finish. We work with you first to customize the information that we'll add to the survey. Then we handle the launch of the survey, and you'll get reports back just a few months after the survey is launched. And we really aim to make participation as easy on you as possible. Most of what we'll need from you is basically in the first month of our engagement prior to the launch of the survey. We'll work really closely with you to help you pull your grantee list together, and most importantly, to customize the survey with additional questions relevant to your goals and strategies and context. And because our staff are experts at survey customization at this point, we can really do the heavy lifting of drafting customized questions that fit your needs and describe your initiatives. What we'd be working with you to do is understand the topics that aren't already addressed in the Grantee Perception Report that you'd like to add. Then right before the survey launches, we have you announce to grantees that the survey is coming, and then we handle the rest. So we launch the survey, we interact with grantees who have questions, we keep you updated on response, and then we analyze and create your report. So what does this cost? Always an important question. The full cost of the Grantee Perception Report generally ranges from around $13,000 to higher for very complex projects or funders. But we really aim to be flexible in the scope of this work and in the cost, in the hopes that as many folks as possible can engage with this kind of information. The price is driven by the size of the foundation, the number of grantees that we're surveying, and the level of customization that you want. And then, of course, one of the things that we can do very quickly for you is give you a sense of what it would cost for you to participate in the Grantee Perception Report with just a few pieces of information. So I hope as we get through this webinar today, if you're interested, you'll drop us a quick line, and we'll have some contact information for you later in this webinar to just get a sense of what it might cost for your organization to participate in the Grantee Survey. And the nice thing is that right now, as we plan for 2014 and fill these survey rounds, we're running a bit of an early bird discount, so you can receive $1,000 off the price of your Grantee Perception Report if you commit to participating in one of these rounds of 2014 surveys by the end of this month. So that's the Grantee Perception Report. That's CEP's perspective on it. But of course, what we would also want to do is hear from somebody who has used the Grantee Perception Report. And as Phil mentioned today, we have with us Thayer DuPont, the president of the Longwood Foundation. Thayer's on the line now, and I'm going to spend just a few minutes asking Thayer some questions about his experience with the grantee and applicant perception reports. Phil, I think, is starting to see some questions come through from folks. So please keep them coming, and we'll either slot those in for Thayer or respond to them as we get through this next little portion with Thayer. So Thayer, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Kevin. Thanks for the opportunity.
Wonderful. So I wondered if we could just start out a little bit with a very basic question about why you and your colleagues at the Longwood Foundation chose to conduct the Grantee Perception Report.
Well, I think it was for us among the handful of measurements that we could put in place to spur ourselves towards continuous improvement. We recognize that our mission is not necessarily to make the nonprofits in Delaware and Southern Chester County happy. So we don't want to overweight those tools, but we also know we can't possibly succeed without them. If they're not happy, they're not going to be maximizing the impact of our dollars. So we want to do whatever we can to make our dollars, our grant dollars, as effective as they make their way to the community. In parallel, we're also have started a routine evaluation process where we're grading ourselves on how successful our nonprofits are at achieving the outcomes that they describe in their grant requests. So to us, that's an equally valuable measure, but different, and it's very important to understand how we're perceived by our grantees. And our view is that we want to, from a timing perspective, I don't think you've noted already, but we did our 2 surveys at a 3-year interval. We take the view that most change in the philanthropic and social sector takes 2 to 3 years at best. And so measuring ourselves at that interval, we could probably do it at 2, but we've chosen 3 at this point to give ourselves feedback. And finally, repeating the process is essential to measuring, if you go back to the fundamental thesis here of continuous improvement, to knowing whether whatever changes we did in response to the first one had the desired impact. There's always the chance they'll actually make things worse. So best to know that not only did they stay the same, in fact, they got better in the few categories which we were really targeting improvement in.
That's great. Thank you for that background. I wonder, you just touched on the topic of sort of improvement over time, which Longwood has seen some real success in. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of foundations have seen that if they really make an effort to change certain processes, they can see that reflected in changes in grantees' experience. I wonder if you could describe one of the biggest successes that you think you've had, or you and your colleagues think you've had, in improving your work with grantees.
Sure. When we took the first survey, one of the areas where we performed the lowest, there was lots of positive feedback, which was great, where we were performing well and having a significant impact on the community and on the fields in which our nonprofits operated. In the area of can-do-betters, lead on the list was a 25th percentile performance around the clarity of communications of the foundation's goals and strategy. Well, frankly, that shouldn't have surprised any of us. We didn't even have a website at the time we did this. We operate a little slower than the rest of the world. We did a couple of things in response to that measure. First of all, we specifically targeted it and said we want to make a meaningful improvement on that. We made a point, first of all, of sending an email/memo out to everybody who had participated in the first round of the request, saying thank you, appreciate your first round of the GPR, saying thank you, we appreciate your participation, and here's what we're going to do differently because of what you told us. We've posted that note on our website, and any of you, it's dated, but it's still on our website, so everybody can see what we changed in response, which started with getting a website up. It also included, I think significantly, a 15-minute call that I have with everybody who participates, every grantee and applicant, not just grantees. Anybody who puts an application into the foundation gets a 15-minute call with me after the trustees have met and made their decision. So they're getting live personal feedback on their request. If they got the grant, congratulations, and here's what we're expecting of you to confirm it. And if they didn't, here's what you can do better. So the combination of those two things, I think, had a significant impact. And in the second survey, we rose to the 78th percentile on the clarity of communications.
Great. It's one of the largest, editorial second, it's one of the largest jumps in grantee perception report ratings that we've seen at CEP. It was a really substantial change in grantees' perceptions of the clarity, and so I think that clearly some of those efforts have really paid off more than actually we see it at a lot of other foundations. I wonder if you want to talk for a second about somewhere where the Longwood Foundation was already rated positively and then rated higher. As you mentioned earlier, there's an aspect of the grantee perception report that gets at the relationships that you have with grantees, your responsiveness and fairness and approachability and so forth. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about one of the other aspects that's really not about happiness or relationships at all, which is grantees' perceptions of your impact. You were rated around the 90th percentile in the first grantee perception report for grantees' perceptions that you had made an impact on their organizations, and then after your second survey, you were rated at the 99th percentile compared to other foundations for this important measure of impacting grantee organizations. What do you think's behind your ability to maintain that kind of really positive impact on grantees?